Hey, today I want to speak to you about what respect looks like in a home and in a marriage, and the reason why it's so important for you to regain respect for your spouse. I know that we can lose it, and we can lose it pretty quickly, but it's so important for just attaining peace in the home once again. If you're new to this channel, my name's Luella. I'm a psychotherapist and a coach, and I work mainly with couples. Uh, I'm faith-based, so if that means anything to you, listen on, and I hope you enjoy the show. So, if you ever thought, why do I feel like I'm doing everything in this marriage? Then, yes, this video is for you. Because what if I told you your exhaustion isn't from doing too much, but from doing too much of the wrong things? And probably being in your head way too much as well. So let's talk about what happens when respect returns to the home and why so many women today are missing peace, not power. They seem to have taken over the power in the home. But by doing that, you're letting go of peace in your home. I recently had a very rich, eye opening conversation with Pastor Doug Wilson. He's a Protestant pastor. I'm a Catholic therapist. But we've both come to see the same truth, and that is men and women are equal in worth, but we are definitely not the same. And we were never meant to be the same. I think that's where the whole feminist movement has sort of lost its way a little bit. We were going so much for being equal that we missed the fact that we're um, not the same. We're actually very different, very different. And there's a good reason for it. And it's a very good thing. Um, yeah. So, if you like these videos, chances are that I have a podcast episode very related to the little videos that you're getting here. And if you listen to me normally on my podcast, you'll know that I try to make a shorter version on YouTube here. So, with that, where did I leave off? Well, when we forget that we are very different, we're not the same, and we're striving way too much for equality, when we try to flatten these differences in the name of fairness, I guess, I don't know. You have to think, why am I so preoccupied with this idea of being the same. When you do that, you're going to see that your marriage is going to fall apart. And I'll be honest, when I first encountered phrases like, those biblical phrases that you may have heard, and what maybe turned people off of being faith based at all, it's those phrases like the husband is the head of the wife. I mean, I shut those books down too. I mean, I literally shut the book. Like, I can't read this. What does this mean? Yeah, it happened when I was reading Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. And even though I adored the book, I loved the book, I stopped and I couldn't swallow that part. Um, but God kept nudging and the Holy Spirit kept working. And eventually so did the evidence in my own lives, my own marriage, and especially that of my clients. Um, because when we reject divine order, we are essentially rejecting peace. Doug put it plainly. Biblical headship isn't about a man bossing his wife around or always getting his way. It is more of a question of responsibility. It's all about responsibility. When a decision has to be made, and let's be honest, not every choice in a marriage can be made through consensus. Someone has to carry the final weight, and that's a heavy burden to carry. You think about it, like if you are striving to make all the decisions in the family, realize you're taking all of the responsibility as well. And do you really want that? Um, yeah, so it might come off as, these terms headship and head of the family. They 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 can come off as like authoritarian and dominance and things like that. But that's not the way it's has ever meant to be. There needs to be a divine order in any sort of establishment, whether that's your house or a business. There's always a CEO, there's always a COO, I mean, there's always some sort of decision maker. Um, and you could say, well, no, there's partnerships, but there's someone who does, like, you can't have a democracy when there's only two people. You can't both, your decisions go forward, because that doesn't make sense. I mean, yeah, it doesn't add up. Um, and so what I'm saying here, that because someone has to be the ultimate decision maker, that someone is the husband. But again, not as a tyrant, but as a servant leader leading the house. Doug said that when his wife Nancy says, I trust you, it doesn't boost his ego. It makes him want to get it right. Think of it that way. Like, someone is giving their full trust in my decision. Like, wouldn't that make, put a, some like pep in your step sort of thing? It's like, whoa, this is a big deal. And I've seen that too. Like, when a woman offers her trust and respect, a good man doesn't abuse it. He steps up. He becomes more careful, more prayerful, and more loving. And that's what it's all about. Sharing love, right? Giving of yourself for the other. So, and this isn't just theory. I've lived with the opposite of this. For years, I made most of the decisions in my marriage. Well, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but I made a lot of them. And I overfunctioned. And like any equipment that's run on power or electricity, you're going to burn out. The fuse is going to burn out. The wire is going to burn out. And I burnt out. And I believed my education and my doing it all, would bring us stability and success. But instead, it brought resentment on both sides, burnout, yeah, and disconnection. That's the biggest hit, you know. And it's not because I wasn't capable. Of course, like, I'm capable. People are capable of doing amazing things, but it was because I was trying to be everything, including the head. And that's where you get nowhere. The world told me that I was power. It was like, oh, you're powerful. You go, girl. You can do it all. You have every right in this house to make the decisions. Why should it be done, unilaterally? You're educated. You're competent person. Yeah. In fact, if you're going to use the education piece, you're even more educated. You're even more well versed in this area. whatever that might be, you know? That's not the approach to take. And today I work with women who are living the same story, and they're tired and they're angry at their husbands and their kids. Obviously, this is going to spill off into your children, um, and often at themselves. They're not even happy, with all this. But underneath that anger, you have to realize it's is usually one aching question, and that is, what happened to the man I married? Because the more dominant you become, the less of a man he becomes. So when a woman takes over, the man often checks out. And when a man dominates, a woman often breaks. So neither one of these extremes brings peace, But when both step in to the role that God gave them, when a man actually provides, protects, and leads with humility, and the woman goes to her nurturing side and she advises and trusts, we get something close to harmony as best we can. It's never perfection, but it's peace. And that's what our marriages are lacking nowadays, is just peace. They don't have to be perfect, but they can be peaceful. You don't have to be incredibly successful, whatever that is in modern days standards. But if you can have a peaceful household, and women, especially if you're listening to this, I think you have to be nodding your head right now and going, oh my God, it's so true. Like all I want is peace. I just want to come home to a peaceful house. I want our dinners just to be peaceful. I'm sick of the arguing. I'm sick of, the disrespect in the home. I mean, but that's what sacred order brings, guys. It's not outdated. It's timeless. And meaning it's always the way it meant to be, and it's always the way it will be if you want to obtain peace. Yeah. I mean, Doug shared an image I haven't been able to forget. Like, the man brings the seed and the woman glorifies it. He brings, you can think of that as even in the lens of procreation. He brings the seed and the woman glorifies it. The woman holds that seed in her womb for 9 months, patiently awaiting, the reveal sort of thing. She's the first one that knows about the pregnancy, and is able to announce this, glorify it for all that it is. But it's not only in terms of the sperm. That's not the only seed I mean. A man brings home, the paycheck, and she often, and don't think that I don't feel like women should also work outside of the home. That's not what I'm getting at. But like when he does bring, money into the home, she takes that money often. Brings it to the house. She makes it a home with that money that's brought into the house. It's most often a woman who glorifies the home. Not to say that there's many talented men out there who can do the same, but it's most often a woman who plays that role. And so it's so true, and so when I say it like that, you can see that it's not inequality. It's the opposite of what it is. That's divine design. Yeah. So when when like the modern world now is sort of telling us that we need to erase those roles, those old-fashioned roles of what a man and a woman should do. This is not old-fashioned or traditional or whatever you want to call it. Leave it to Beaver, man comes home and a woman serves him. That's not what I'm talking about here. You can see the difference, what I mean by divine order and being in some sort of subservient role as a woman, like a doormat or anything like that. No, a woman, both women and men remain very powerful and take on very specialized roles in a house that's divinely ordered. You know, when when we pretend that they don't matter, that's when everyone suffers. Men lose their sense of purpose. And it's so common now, like even men in their young 20s, to have such despair because I think they don't see themselves as having any sort of purpose. Yeah. So with that loss of purpose, I mean, women absolutely lose their peace and the home really loses rhythm. And yeah, that culture just follows after that, over and over. So what's the alternative? Well, it's not to swing hard in the other direction, guys, and demand rigid patriarchy. That's not it. It's not to shame women into silence. It's to do what Doug called. Basically, it's acting like reasonable human beings. Seems like an obvious answer. It's about honoring the differences as beautiful, not burdensome. And it's about knowing that real love often looks like yielding, not winning. That trust isn't weakness, it's an act of worship, and that strength is proven not in control, but in sacrifice. So, if you want to listen more about this, then go to my episode. I think it's episode 53 on the Luella Jonk show. And yeah, check out my other episodes and you'll get a longer version of everything I talk about here on the channel. Yeah, because I know one question you're going to be probably asking is, what if this person doesn't deserve respect? And we get into that a little bit, I also write about this on my website in my blog posts. Usually there's something coming, like there's always a video from a blog post, etc., etc. Okay, so yeah, if this stirred a message in you, well, maybe, maybe it stirred hope, maybe defensiveness, probably that too. Yeah, I just want you to just pause a second and don't just scroll past it, ask God what he might be showing you through that tension you feel in your body right now. Sit with it. He might be inviting you to into like some sort of new kind of peace. Because maybe, just maybe, what your home needs most isn't more equality. Maybe it's more respect. And not just respect as a feeling, but as a structure that's going to hold and keep your marriage up. So yeah, the full interview with Doug Wilson is on the Luella Jonk show. And if you're ready to rethink your relationship, not with fear, but with faith, I'd love to walk that journey with you. Let me know if you want more of that. And yeah, I'm here to listen and make great content for you guys. All right. Have a great rest of your day.